want to be very careful about making that assumption. And that leads us to looking for some of the signs of people who are going through chronic stress. So some of the signs, do you remember what the signs were?
Children eat a lot. Some people eat a lot, some don't eat.
Okay, so it could lead to an eating disorder, but not always. What about, do you remember what was motivation, right? And oftentimes it can be a lack of motivation, a withdrawal from the community. Remember that one? Okay, like excessive irritation. Or I'll just say easily irritated. Does anyone remember anything else?
Sleeping disorders, maybe.
Sometimes, yeah. So maybe overly tired due to sleeping disorders.
Or violent behavior.
Ooh. I'm like writing love. I don't know where that came from. That's because I keep wanting to start with an L. And what was the last one that was really good?
Violent behavior.
Violent behavior.
Maybe rudeness. When the person became rude.
Yeah, sure. That's a good one. Being rude, or even sometimes it comes out in bullying. Right, because sometimes the children mimic what they see at home. And if the parents are bullying each other, or one parent is bullying the other parent, that comes out in their behavior because they understand that to be how you relate to people, right? So these are some good examples about what we talked about last time. That's great. I'm glad that you all remember. So let's talk about now. Again, not all students will have these responses. It doesn't mean that just because they see it at home, they will react in a rude way or a bullying way, etc., etc. It's just these are some possibilities that when we see students who are having these problems, instead of making snap judgments, we want to get more information about that student. So we want to try to connect with the student in some way. And yesterday, one of our participants brought out a great way to connect with students when we're trying to get more information about these types of characteristics, and that is to use third-party stories. So it's a story about somebody else who's going through a difficult time, but the students can maybe relate to it, right? So it's a story about Doug, who just lost his father in a car accident, and how he is dealing with the loss of his father. And so then maybe the students can relate to that, and you can get further information. They feel like they're not talking about themselves, so they're more free to talk about their actual feelings as one possibility. Okay, so moving on to resilience. So we learned that resilience is one of the ways that we can overcome, or not overcome, that's the wrong word. I think work through chronic stress and anxiety and or feelings related to trauma. So we're going to learn a little bit more about resilience today. That's under the self-care portion. But what do you remember the psychologist that we watched last time saying about resilience? What was one form of resilience that you recall? Physical exercise, right? So engaging in physical exercise as a way to release some of the emotions that are pent up. Okay, what was another way?
Understand what gives you meaning.
Yeah, understand what gives you meaning. And hold on 1 second to that thought. So when we are talking about this is easier for us as adults, right? So if we're working with even high school, it will not be so difficult to talk about how do you understand meaning. But when you're working with young learners, we have to think of, other ways that we can get them to understand meaning without saying to them, now, I want you to understand what brings meaning to your life, right? Because they'll be like, what are you talking about? So does anyone have some suggestions for when you're working with younger learners? How can we help them to understand their own meaning?
Gestures.
Gestures, okay.
Pictures.
Teachers, teach about it.
Pictures.
Oh, pictures. So can you tell me an example of how that would look? Like, what are you thinking?
Draw a picture, for example, of something.
Okay, so we would need to ask them a question though, right? Like, what do you really, really like? Or like, what's your favorite thing to do in this world? Draw a picture. Yes, good. So we're asking them to think about what they feel passionate about, what they really, really like, because what they like is something that would give them meaning, right? But they don't know that it's giving them meaning. They just know, I like this. This makes me feel happy, right? Okay, good. And what were you going to add?
No, I would like to say for the small children, very important, for all children, especially for small, very important to be accepted. Accepted and feel their love, because for primary school teacher it's like another mother, and they all
Very
try
true.
to hug teacher, something
Yeah.
like this. And another meaning for small children, it's the main activities is playing, to ability to play.
Right.
Play is like way to learning life.
Okay, so what we could say, what do you like to do, and maybe what is your favorite game? You don't like playing house or this or that for them. Yeah, what did you want to add?
Who is the person you love most?
Oh yeah, nice.
Do you have some friend, some close friend?